Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, guys. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Assalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. We are here to further review this profit sharing investment account to further understand the nature of the profit rate risk in Islamic banking. And one of the issue that we see earlier was the underperformance of PSIA during the Asian financial crisis 1997 that brought about the birth of the ROR and the DCR. And so let us just see what we have here. So I was saying that the rate of return risk and the displaced commercial risk, these are the two unique risks faced by Islamic bank, which are not found in the conventional bank. Both emerge or has emerged from the use of PSIA fund rather than from the Tawarruk deposit and investment account fund. So this PSIA is a legacy issue, and it still needs to be refined in order to ensure that the right of the PSIA holders, are protected. In Malaysia, it is no longer a legacy issue because Bank Negara Malaysia have separated the deposit fund from the investment account fund. So we have the Tawarruk deposit that resemble a leverage fund in which the Tawarruk deposit placement and the profit were guaranteed by way of the contract of Tawarruk deposit, whereas the investment account fund is an equity fund, pass-through equity fund, and as an equity fund, the investment amount plus the profit, of course, are not guaranteed. So the separation of the Tawarruk deposit, from the investment account fund is the new, development in the Islamic banking funding system, and which is not yet been pursued by Islamic bank in other IFSB countries. So it is good to see that Malaysia has taken the lead or to experiment how the risk-sharing fund can be fully implemented to produce, or to amplify the Islamic principle of profit loss sharing and risk taking. So we can see that the PSIA funds during the Asian financial crisis in Malaysia. Of course, the Asian financial crisis affect Indonesia, where the Islamic bank I presume were newer compared to Malaysia. So Malaysia operated much earlier, but other places like Thailand and Korea and the rest of the ASEAN country, there is no Islamic bank except for Brunei. We have one bank in Brunei which operated on the PSIA system. But we can see that the case for Malaysia is that the PSIA were not performing, and for that reason the literature about the ROR and DCR were available to further appreciate what was going on then and how the remedy was sought to ensure that if interest rate goes up again, then the Islamic bank were more prepared to protect their asset, from the stress of rising interest rate. So what we see here is that the underperformance of the PSI fund produces what we call the ROR, or rate of return risk. So meaning that the PSIA fund is underperforming because by virtue of the fact that the Islamic deposit rates are lower than the conventional deposit rate, and therefore the rate of return risk emerges from this event of gapping between the Islamic rate and conventional rate. And as we see earlier, that in order to prevent the Islamic deposit from outflowing or moving into conventional deposit, then the Islamic bank uses their capital fund to raise the Islamic deposit rate. To prevent, and by doing so, it will prevent some of the migration of Islamic deposit into conventional deposit. Because if the bank allow the deposit to flow out, then the bank will have no funds to make the murabaha or to make the ITAP, and the fund will be forced to use the interbank money market funds that are more expensive compared to deposit funds. And later on, the regulator have introduced the PER, the PER, the Profit Equalization Reserve, and IRR, the Investment Risk Reserve, to smoothen the deposit rate so that the Islamic bank will be competitive with the conventional bank, such that there's no issue of Islamic deposit moving out from the Islamic bank. And we see earlier also, I was saying that the underperformance of the PSIA is due to the inability to reprice the Islamic asset, right? So the PSIA fund were not able to be competitive. They can only offer lower deposit rate than the conventional deposit rate. They were not able to be competitive or to equalize the rate of return because the BBA assets or the ITAP assets or the murabaha asset were all based on a fixed rate structure where the price or the rate or the profit rate cannot be increased like the loan rate. So that caused the failure to reprice the Islamic asset, which eventually caused the PSIA fund to underperform. So that's essentially the main idea about the profit rate risk, and why is it that the Islamic bank were not able to be as competitive. And in order to further understand the nature of the PSIA, so we need to look at the alpha factor that is a very, very significant factor in the PSIA system, so that we can understand the nature of the risk sharing taking place in the PSIA system. So we can stop here right now. I can see you again in the coming presentation. Guys, thank you very much for your time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.